Greetings to you all. This is the Rave New Year chart for 2025. It's a little late. It's January 21st is when it occurred a couple of days ago. Today is what day is today? I think it's the 24th, but we'll have some nice reflection on it in terms of what has happened this week and what we felt pass through us as the neutrinos do. So this is the chart. I'm going to go over my page of notes, but first I wanted to present you guys the chart so you could see it, take a picture. This is like our picture for the year. It was a real busy day that day. I went out with friends. I went out of town. It was great. It was a great time. And I pointed out to them too. I brought it up. I said, this day is a mini kind of a microcosm of the macrocosm of the entire year. And this is where all the planets were, all the gates where the planets were, along with the definition, personality, motivation, sense, trajectory, view, perspective, transferred motivation, and transferred view. I'm not going to go over all of these in details. We don't need to be so Virgo on this day. On that day, Moon was in Scorpio, and it's there in gate 50, where it's in fall. As often the moon is when it's in Scorpio. And you'll see there the sun in gate 41. Pluto is not quite yet in 41, but it's about to be there. And in this chart, and you'll notice Earth is in the opposite of the 41, and that's going to be the 31. And where is the 31? The 31 is influence. It's the gate of influence just below the throat. And that's a Leo gate opposite Aquarius, where Pluto will be for the next 4 years in gate 41, the start codon. Very significant and extremely transformative shift. This is like an over 250 odd year Plutonic cycle. Pluto is being in Aquarius for the first time in over 200 years. And the last time this occurred, there was a shift from the centered being to the nine-centered. This time, the human design graph is showcasing for us the movement of, how would I put this? A new authority, or not a new authority, but almost a transferred authority as the solar plexus is awakening into becoming an awareness center. And that's down here, that's right here on the right-hand side. The solar plexus is defined here, and it's defined also in this Rave New Year chart. In fact, the only definition we have is the channel transitoriness, the channel 35 to 36. This is this is a manifesting channel. Anyone with this channel would be a manifester in type. And it's it's an energy that's always needing to be in movement. These are when people have this particular channel, they love to be in movement, moving about, visiting places, just being very physical, needing to really go through mutations and go through and jump into new experiences. The 35 often gets bored and will jump in and push others into new experiences, sometimes bringing crisis. It is a channel of mutation. It is a channel that connects to the emotional center. These are people, these are energies and frequencies that are emotional. And when they transmit to you, when they communicate with you, they will be emotional. That's just what it is. There's nothing other than that about it. There's a need to express and feel that emotional wave as it moves and express it as such. This is our chart for the year. It will be a very emotional and turbulent year, but as I've said in my prior podcasts and YouTubes, it's a year to not pay too much attention to the carnival that's moving about you, but rather to focus on you and your plans and what you're bringing to fruition, your visions and how you're bringing it forth. And that I've talked about in my Aries Vortex podcast, as well as the astrology, as Marduk's musings with Dorje. We did a part one and a part two, and next week we'll do a part three on the astrology for 2025. And it's not too much different. It all falls in line. The nodes here you'll see are in North Nodes in gate 25, the gate of innocence, universal love of humanity, and the South Nodes in gate 46, love of the body. And those nodes are changing on January 30th, and then those nodes will conjunct Neptune in gate 36. So the North Node will go into gate 36, and the South Node will go into gate 6, which is presently not activated. And that will be our North Node and South Node gate change at the end of this month. But until then, it's very important. The dominating theme of the 46, no, of the 2546 is that we're coming into alignment with who we are and how we express that into the world, but not so much as a physical expression like career, what we're doing, not anything too simplistic as that, but rather our essence, our bandwidth. What are we resonating to? Are we in flow? Are we now settling into our own intuition to follow that North Node in Pisces? Are we in? Are we in and within, coming from our own frequency, not anyone else's, but our own? Are we following our own guidance and not putting too much energy outside of us for answers? Are we learning to hone inward? This all sounds very cliche and new agey, but this is what it is. This is Pisces in the North Node. So this is us becoming more comfortable with our essence, with our spirit, with our higher self, and really trusting in our higher self and moving forward in that guidance. And some other um, points I can make about this chart. Let's see, we have so how we ground this year. That's going to be in gate 31. That'll be influence. That'll be in leadership, speaking our truth, speaking. As you see, that's a gate connected to the throat center, and transits will hit the seven. It'll be especially during August with that gate seven is in Leo. And other gates 12 will activate it. It's already activated because the throat center is activated. So this is a year where we'll ground through our own voice. And some of you, especially if you have gate 57 in the dream rave or even in the waking, will resonate with the quality, the sound, and the frequency of someone's voice. As many of you know, like the voice carries all the musical notes, or rather, a voice that carries all the notes is a voice that's resonating on all frequencies of of music, of the spheres, of all the color rays of all the planets. And this is very powerful. There's software, I think, these days where people can check if they're missing any notes or if there's notes that are not as common in their voice. I know I did this years ago. I definitely had some notes that weren't as strong as others. So we're always working to be more whole in the sense that we can embody all the different sound and frequencies in order to experience the highest for ourselves and others. Now, the nodes I went over, the moon, this in this rave chart is again in gate 50, the gate of caring for others. So this is a gate where you have to be aware of too much giving yourself away to others, codependency. So it's just knowing when it's correct to help others and when it's correct to pull back and help yourself. Even to make sure you're not helping others energetically, unconsciously, and bringing all your energy back to you, cutting off cords that, ending agreements that no longer serve you, you know. Some of us are runaway healers with that gate 50. I know I have that as well, cutting cords as we speak. Moving to Mercury, we see Mercury in gate 54, line 6, about to go into the next gate. Now, Mercury in gate 54 is very ambitious, so we are focused on our goals this year. That is our mental awareness and our mental focus. And I think if I'm correct, it's going to go into gate 38. If so, that'll be in the gate of that gate's a little more aggressive in the sense of needing to struggle. But that's not where it is in this picture. So in this picture, we have it such that our focus will be our ambition to help others, help ourselves, and help the world in a new way, in a new and innovative way. As many of you know, how am I saying that incorrectly? As many of you know, we're going through another transformation. There's an attempt to create a new AI revolution and to end the industrial revolution. And this I'll be touching on another video as I really want to talk about Alex Turing. He was pretty much the inventor of the computer, and he died by poisoning an apple and eating that apple and dying. Of course, we know the apple as the symbol for Apple computers, as well as the ancient biblical story about the garden and eating of the tree of good and evil. And I don't know if an apple was used in that, but the symbolism of an apple um, being something forbidden or something technological is with us. There's also in mythology um, the goddess of discord, Eris, and the golden apple, I think it was, that she rolled into a party that she wasn't invited into. So I'm going to touch upon these themes deeper in future videos, as Eris is very important as well as a planetary, um, as a planet. Yeah, as a dwarf planet, I think. But that is presently in Gemini. And I did a video last year during the Aries eclipse of April where Eris was conjunct that eclipse. So that's real interesting stuff. So I'll get that into that another time. So we have Venus in gate 22, the gate of grace or disgrace. So that means in our actions that whatever we are going through, whether it's something we're suffering through or being successful through, um, it's it's making sure that we're carrying out our obligations, our decisions, our goals, our intentions, our ways with grace. And that'll be really important because this first 6 months will be challenging, and the remaining 6 months of the year will be calmer as the planets go back to where they were prior. And then it's not until 2026 that the outer planets will go permanently into their new signs. But they will start to move in now. Pluto pretty much now, and then um, in March, late March 30th, Neptune will enter Aries, and Saturn will enter Aries in May, and then Jupiter will enter Cancer in the summer, and Uranus will enter Gemini in July. And so these are huge shifts of the outer planets. And we have Mars in gate 62, the gate of opinions. So there will definitely still be a lot of different views on how to go forward in this world, action-oriented views that will be seen and presented on the stage of the world. Jupiter here in this picture is in gate 35, so it's still in this Gemini gate before it goes into Cancer in the summer. So this gate of 35 is, it's very mental. This is like expansion into, ideas of pursuits. It's a very kind of selfish gate. It just wants to push into something. It's bored. It can't stand just doing the same old. And this is very, this is very Gemini energy to get bored very quickly and to need constant stimulation. So watch out for this particular gate. And then we have Saturn in gate 63, and that's going to be a mental channel on the top right-hand side. So we're still trying to figure things out, it seems. It seems our law, where we'll be punished if we don't follow our law of gate 35 of Jupiter in a positive frequency, exploring new ways of being. We'll get stifled with overthinking. And that's going to be a big issue this year to making sure that we're in flow and that we're flowing with our intuition and not overthinking things, not over reflecting. And that's going to be really important because, again, North Node in Pisces, following the way of faith and intuition and trust of the higher self. Now, moving down, Uranus in gate 23. That's part of the channel of the genius freak. So those are the gates of insight. And so Uranus will continue with sudden insights, of the higher mind. So lots of potential for new innovative inventions this year, which will come forth without a doubt. And then Neptune continues as it has for the last couple years in gate 36 until it enters gate 25 on March 30th. And then we see Pluto here in gate 60, line 6, about to go into gate 41 along with the sun to be illuminated by the sun. And this is what some of us kind of felt this week. I brought it up with a couple of friends, like Sunday, Monday, there was a huge shift. We could really feel that sun illuminating Pluto for the first time in hundreds of years. And this is all that Pluto carries. Pluto is all our unconscious, hidden forces within us that rule us, that rule our behaviors, our subconscious behaviors. I don't really like that term, to be honest, are just like shadow um, impulses. The sun really illuminated, and as I commented in earlier videos, that this moment of the Rave New Year would be a time where, and this was this Monday, Tuesday, would be a time where things would be revealed, even about yourself. Just things would come to light that were in great tension at the beginning of this month when Mars was in Pluto. I mean, was opposed Pluto. And so this is the picture of the new year. I'm going to leave it there and I'm going to start to go over the write-up I did. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to stop share and I'm going to put up my write-up and we'll go through that. So this is the new movie of 2025. So the way I like to present is just constant reminders that whatever this world, this realm is, it's just I'm beginning really to see it in such a way, whereas I watched the inauguration, I watched a lot of the recent speeches and a lot of the responses to a lot of this new star actor on the stage and his presentations of the shifts and changes that he's making and that he seems to be actually going forth and saying what he's doing and doing what he's saying is creating this and right away I got this hit. It's almost creating this illumination, this kind of light of whether it's I mean whether it's true or not, it seems to me like This is a movie after all. So it's like a false golden light with this quote unquote golden age, right? It seems like the stage is being presented for a real hero, and he's coming forth onto the stage, and he's doing what he said that he was going to do and saying what he's doing, and he's presenting these new ways for humanity. And some of them sound really forward, looking and really powerful. And some of them sound outright, like just ludicrous because we have no context for it. I mean, these are energies that are swirling everywhere. So even the actors on the stage are uttering these new lines that are corresponding to the frequencies of these outer planet movements. It's extremely powerful. And so in human design, how we look at the planets, I'm just going to go over this, is the nodal transits set the stage for the environment that we're going to be in. And so as I went over, the North Node will go into 36, gate 36 on January 30th. This will last till June. And this will be a time of transformation in relationships. We'll be going through a lot of challenges and struggles and, powerful culminations in relationships with others. And it'll be important to hold our ground, to our own central gravity and being strong in ourselves and what's correct for us. The personal planets are usually other people. They usually symbolize the people that are around in life that you meet on a year. This is more corresponding to a solar return, but this is like a solar return for the year. And the outer planets represent the structures, right? They represent, just like in astrology, the different class systems. There are planetary retrogrades this year, most of the year. There's always going to be a planet retrograding. I think there's only a period in like May for 2 weeks where no planets will be retrograde, and that's like a week or 2 weeks. I think less than 2 weeks. The solar and the lunar cycle eclipses will represent new cycles. Those are going to be in March and September for this year. So I encourage limited travel during those times, especially if you have planets in Pisces or Virgo. And even in the related square signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. I have a nice quote from William Blake there. Without contraries, there is no progression. A more literal explication of the planetary rulerships in human design. Sun is the light, right? It's the neutrino force. It's about 80, 70% of the neutrinos we receive. Jupiter gets a good percentage of that as well. So it's the light in the container. Earth is our mother, our Gaia, our grounding. The moon is the program. The moon represents how we're programmed. Thus the moon phases and how that affects the waters within us and without us. And Mercury is the emissary of the sun. So it's the light of the mind. Venus and Mars represent passivity and peace, as well as action and war. Jupiter and Saturn represent expansion and contraction. Uranus represents the higher mind. Neptune represents that which this physical world is made of, the frequency band that we do not see, the cosmic ocean that engulfs and surrounds us. Pluto represents all extremes. It represents the inner and underworld, the deep fires and ice, the deep extremes, and the process of destruction and creation itself. Without contraries, there is no progression. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are all necessary. And from these contraries arrives what we call good and evil. Good is the passive state of reason. Evil is the active spring from energy. William Blake. This is from The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake, a least aspected moon. individual. So here, if you want to take a picture, last year we had Pluto in gate 60, the gate of darkness. Prior to that, Pluto was in 61 or 62, which was the gate of light. And now it's going to be in the gate of vision, the gate of imagination, gate 41. These are the four nodal programming pairs, the environments for the year. As I was saying, purpose through conflict, January 31st to June 13th. Then in the summer on June 14th, just before solstice, we'll go into North Node will go into Pisces, gate 22, and the South Node will be in Virgo, gate 47. This is restriction with grace. So it will be a different period of time once we hit June 14th. The energy will have shifted. We'll have gone through an extreme emotional transformation. I almost feel like something is being set up, something on is being set up on the world stage, that it's almost like something is being set up to being represented to us as some kind of angelic savior energy, and then it's going to be completely transformed or eliminated or destroyed somehow, and a new vision will become us, will surround us. It's almost like on some level, I mean, we could be changing leaders somehow. We could see just a huge, significant change in leadership, even in the United States. Um, as I see it, just the energies being set up to uplift something and then almost like to build something up and then to knock it down, as Dead Can Dance lyrics would have it. And then we have November. So this period of time, June 14th to November 3rd, will be a time where we'll be recovering from whatever it was that occurred in the spring with grace, and there'll be restrictions of sorts, even if it's inner or outer restrictions of our energy. Then on November 4th, we enter a great period of confusion and doubt. But this will only be for 1 month, a little more than 1 month, maybe a month and a half. So that'll be kind of the prime time to really get into spaces of temporal manipulation. And what I mean by that is open up the space of self through observation and meditation. Play with temporality, play with your own ontology. And then on December 24th, the North Node will move into gate 37, and the South Node will be in gate 40, which is so that will be about community, purpose with community. This is the human community coming back together in culmination of this year. And moving further down, if you want to take a picture, these are all the eclipses and the dates and the gates that they will be in. So we have the March lunar eclipse, which will be really intense and emotional, and perhaps whatever's going to happen that's going to be really intense on the stage, really transformative, really emotional, will occur around then. It is gate 36, the gate of crisis, the gate of mutation. Another eclipse will be on the 29th, and that'll be in gate 17. That one looks more to be of more of Earth kind of disasters and crisis. And then September, the lunar eclipse on September 7th, gate 63, that also looks like that one will be affecting the Earth. And it'll be in Virgo, right? I think that one will be in Virgo or Pisces. I think it's Virgo. So that particular eclipse, I feel like will also be have to do with Earth changes and the Schumann resonance of the sun. And there'll be a lot of those type of changes this year as continuing from last year. Then on September 21st, we have a solar eclipse in Virgo. I think that's going to be 28 degrees Virgo, September 21st. And that eclipse, these eclipses I'm going to go over in the part three of Marduk's musing predictions for 2025 or forecasts for 2025. And I'm going to do individual, I think an individual video on all the four eclipses as well, because I'm not really remembering the thematic I had down for that particular eclipse, but I'll be touching back on it. Then, as I noted, on March 30th, Neptune will go into gate 25. This is the gate of innocence, the gate of uh, universal love of humanity. And Neptune here is very powerful. We'll be really connecting with humanity here, feeling each other on multiple bands of frequencies. And this is very beautiful and very powerful. And that will shift in frequency to a restrictive energy as Saturn enters on May, is that May 5th? Yeah, May 5th or May 25th. I don't know why I didn't write that down, but I'm pretty sure that's May 25th. So I'll note that now. And then on June 9th, Jupiter will go into gate 15 into Cancer. Now that's the gate of extremes. So it's good to be aware that that is a gate of extreme behaviors and intensities. So even though Jupiter's going into exaltation in Cancer, it is a very, we'll see extreme shifts during that time. And then Uranus will go into gate 20, which is the gate of now, like now in the present, making things, making thoughts, deeds in the moment. That's especially true from gate 34. But this is about a temporal reset into being present for changes, especially with the Aries vortex, the minor grand trine. Things will be appearing and disappearing. And as soon as Uranus enters Gemini in gate 20, it will be in trine with Pluto and sextile with the Aries vortex, where also the Venus star point will be. So watch for that day, mark that day on your calendar, or the day before that, rather, as we tend to feel energies prior. April 3rd, I noted as a time of great confusion. There's a pileup in gate 36, the gate of crisis. So, and I also noted here that the chart of our present president in the United States, from both his like progress chart, his solar return, and his natal chart, there's a lot of really transformative aspects. And I think Pluto in the midheaven and his progress chart, and there's a lot there. He's still going through a lot of shadow work and experiences. So hopefully he can get through that. Um, and so what else do I have here? This was last year. I decided to do a picture of last year's Rave New Year. And last year the nodes were in gate 51 and gate 57. So what we learned from the nodes last year, the last 2 years with the North Node in Aries was how to be our own pioneers, how to really be individual and take care of ourselves and to really make our own decisions. And this is going to be carried forth in theme. But I noted here in quote that our nature is to endure, grow, and flourish with courage and through all forms of intense challenges. Interdependence as the pioneer who makes his or her own decisions. The time Pluto was in gate 60, as it was this year, but it's changing right away. And that's the gate of limitation and darkness. Channel 19-41 was active, the quest for unity. Mercury was in gate 13, the gate of listening, sharing our stories to bond with each other. This past year, we saw wars for individuation, truth or lies penetrating through darkness of limitations and a new rough beginnings to create new future visions. Now this year I did another little summary. I don't know if this is repetitive. I already went through that. Also, let's see if there's anything else. I think I went over this. We only have now at this point maybe 5 more days of this North Node theme of finding and grounding in our true identity and the frequency bands that are correct for us. This I already noted, but here I wrote it out further. And this is the nodal transition on January 31st through June 12th. It is a time to focus and not allow distractions to take hold. Venus and Mercury add to the story. Our nature is to endure, grow, and flourish. Through all forms of intense challenges, emotional crisis, and relationship conflict, are we open or closed to into me you see? The shadows of turbulence and conflict will rise to be forgiven and let go of, via the Pisces feeling clear or the Virgo holding on to the ego, mind, resentment, isolation, separation. There's always a choice. Human design is very much related to bifurcation and the whole concept of a biverse. So there's always a choice, and the nodes always present to us alternative environments that are in polar opposite to each other. So in a sense, to reciprocate those energies, to dissolve the polarity and to find resolve and a balance between the two. But of course, even more so in the North Node, because that's where we're moving to. That's the energy and shift of our frequencies. Here are some notes for um, the year. I'm not going to go over these. These are some minor transit aspects. Venus conjunct Neptune in February. That's really nice and a little delusional. Or seeing through the delusion, penetrating through the delusion and seeing the spiritual principle of what is. March is a volatile time of collapse, confusion, and changes. I mean, just to go over, yeah, again, in March, we have Venus going retrograde and Mercury going retrograde. And that just means, like, just think of retrogrades as turning within. You know, the heart turns within with Venus retrograde. With Mercury, the mind turns within. You know, it's reflection, it's review, it's reassessment. And then there's a reminder the Aries vortex, March 21st, but really it'll be for the next 2 years. Um, a new path lies before us. Stay connected to the vitality of life. Here I have a little interpretation for Saturn going into gate 25. New structures called forth. And then adding with Cancer, new structure, or sorry, with Uranus, new structures with higher mind creations. And then Saturn conjunct the North Node, solidifying spiritual principles or deceptions. Maybe this will be around the time that they do their big movie in the sky, right? Project Bluebeam. We'll see if that comes to fruition this year. It's really a time of, of not knowing what is what, but we know it's all being set up. I mean, that's why there's already, those little machines in the air already. They're being reported everywhere because all this is being set up for the grand climax sometime this or next year, with our skies and what's in our skies, what's going on. Is it some kind of overlay? Is there like a huge machine in the sky? Like, who knows what's up there? Are we even seeing what's up there? Is it not some overlay, some glamour? In fact, if we are in a realm, let's see. I think that's it. I already went over the knowledge. Here's just more transits if you want to take a picture of that. And Here's the retrogrades for the year. Mercury will be retrograde in March, July, and November. Mars will be retrograde in, I can't understand that. Mars is retrograde now. So it'll come out of retrograde, I think, in March or February. Venus will be retrograde for March. Jupiter will be retrograde in, it looks like October. And Uranus will be retrograde in September. And looks like that's it. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully, I didn't go too long. Hopefully, that made some sense. This is my human design Rave New Year analysis for the year. Just to summarize, there was some mild forecasts I made. I feel like there could be a transition in leadership during the nodal transition of gate 36 between sometime between January 30th and June, I think that was 16th, because it's a huge emotional time for us. And so I feel like something could be happening on the stage, some intense event. I think there'll be weather events. There could be events associated with our leadership, as well as a possibility of more kind of visions presented to us, true or false. That's up to our own discernment, but most likely part of the show. So those are three main themes. New technologies, of course, for this year. Um, I wonder if zero point technology, tachyon technology will come more to the center stage, as well as a lot of scalar technologies for healing that seem to be coming about for humans. Um, what else? It just seems a very emotionally turbulent time from now until June. So don't become distracted and stay focused. The remainder of the year should be a lot calmer. But we will experience it with grace and do our best to keep our sovereignty and avoid any type of attempts to for them to for whoever it is, to take away our freedoms with, some kind of digital um, identity technologies. We hope this doesn't come to pass, but unfortunately it seems like this is the trend, and in hopes that we'll be strong enough to deny and to keep our sovereignty and freedom, and to keep in the golden light of our spirit, and not the blue light of what a lot of these computers seem to be emitting. There's even computers coming out that don't emit the blue light, so that's fascinating. I want to investigate more into that. And so, again, the themes are weather shifts and changes, technology shifts and changes, especially for healing. The main theme of this year for us is to be focused on our healing, or strengthening our immune systems, because the cross of the sleeping phoenix is beginning to weaken our immune systems. So we need to keep strong. And so we have healing, um, making sure that we're physically safe in our environments with all the transformations of the earth that are coming about, um, observing leadership in our country, and hoping that it's stable, and that it's guiding us for our highest good, and also being strong enough to retain our sovereignty and our freedom despite encroaching digital control, and as always, making time for ourselves and our higher self. All right, that's all. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please subscribe and share with others if you enjoyed this.